Alright. Shalom. Before I begin, I want to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Chak B'dash, and the bonus of the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. And shalom to the icon teaching his word out the four corners, in truth and security. I'm back on the lesson, the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, and I want to be edifying into the elect. Now, the true name of God is Yahweh. Alright, it's not Yahweh. Alright, it's Yahweh, which means he is or he exists. The name of his son, the Son of God, who the world calls Jesus. It's not his name, it's Yahweh Shai, which is to mean he saves or he delivers. Alright, because he's going to be the one to deliver the elect from the diverse lands scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. And the Lord has sent out his men, which you see, so-called black, Latino, and Native American men, that you may see wearing, garments, or people like to scoff and say it's robes, or people scoff and say it's dresses. Those are the prophets of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, because we are living in these last days. Because what is the job, of the prophet? Like how it's always been. Jeremiah 28 says, prophets have been before me and before thee of old prophesied against many countries and against great kingdoms of war and of evil and of pestilence. So, it's not new under the sun. Alright. There's nothing new under the sun. That's Ecclesiastes 1:9 says the thing that had been, it is which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. So the same thing of old, how the prophets were sent to tell of the incoming danger against a nation, of the bad times, of pestilence, or against great kingdoms. Or the great kingdom now is America. It's things that's always been. And even now, we're witnessing the downfall of Esau Edom's, kingdom. How do we know? Because he's being exposed on an all-time high. Really, everything, is being exposed. Whether it be with the JJs, knowing who run the world, the JJs. Esau being exposed, or who he truly is, or what we've been saying for years, or what the prophets been saying for years, what the elders and the apostles been saying for years. How these devils do satanic rituals behind the scenes. It's all being uncovered. It's all being exposed, and that is a sign that we're at the end of his kingdom. And that's really what the lesson is. Top of the lesson is going to 2 Ezra 6:9. I'm gonna start at 7. It says, then answered I and said, what shall be the parting of son of the times, or what shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth? And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, and Jacob's hand had first the hill of Esau. So that was a very symbolic of what Jacob did when they were born, those two nations. According to Genesis, the 27th chapter, when Rebecca said she had two nations within her womb, that was Esau and Jacob, and they were fighting. So there's always going to be enmity between the two. So when Esau came out first, he looked as a hairy garment. What is that? A hairy garment. And he was red. Because his blood showed through his skin. So he got the name Joshua, which means wasted away is he. But after you had Jacob, looking at regular, skin tone, which was, some people will call so-called black, or a very dark shade of brown. He came out holding on the hill of Esau Edom. And that was, again, very symbolic. That was that was basically to tell that we were going to be the ones to, take him down, starting with Yahweh Shai, because Yahweh Shai is going to return, which is a so-called black man, to take this devil out of his rulership. Continuing on, it says, for Esau is the end of the world, meaning an end of an age, because Esau has a period of time where he will rule, and we're living in this time now, but we're coming into the end of it. Joseph and Jacob is the beginning of it that follows. So you know, we're up next. After this devil gets taken down, you may think, how the hell is the Black, Latino, and Native Americans go come up next? They have no military, they have no infrastructure. We have Yahushai, and that's all we need. And that's all we're ever going to need, because Yahushai is the true king. All right, he's a true conqueror. All right, when you go to Revelation 6:1, starting at 1, it says, and I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard, as it were the noise of thunder, one of the 4 beasts saying, come and see. So that Lamb is, we know that is Yahushai. A quick precept. All right. No, not. So I said song. Son. No, not this was like. It's in Luke. Not Luke. John. It's like you. Either or. John 1:36 says, and looking upon Yahushai as he walked, he said, behold the Lamb of the Most High. So it's like it. So when he seen Yahushai, he represented that Lamb. And when it talked about those seals, when you read the previous chapter, it talks about how the, you know, how the book was sealed, talking about this wisdom and knowledge was sealed. All right, but Yahushua was going to be the one to ultimately loose, all right, those seals. Okay. And it says, and I saw and behold a white horse. That white represents, you know, purity, and that horse represents power. And he that sat upon him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. So when Yahushua returns, he's coming to what? Conquer. Conquer what though? All right, what does it mean to conquer? All right, let's get that definition. All right, to conquer. Just to conquer, to carry off the victory, come off victorious. Of a Mashiach, victorious over all his foes. And what is a foe? All right, let's get, you know, just to a foe is an enemy. And who was the enemies of Yahushai? All right, these different heathen nations. Because when you go to Psalms 83 and starting at 1, it says, keep not thou silence, O power, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O power. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people. All right, let's break this down. All right, this is a psalm. All right, it says keep not silent. So basically, you know, telling the Lord, you know, to basically bust a move. All right, it says they have lifted up the head, so they got fucking proud. All right, it said they have taken crafty counsel against thy people. Who is the people of Yahweh Shema Shah, the so-called Black, Latinos, and Native Americans? And have consulted against thy hated ones. So they have, you know, come together to come against us. Right, continuing on, it says they have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation. Right, and it's very easy to pinpoint who the enemies of Yahweh Shema Shai is. All right, they have come against us. Okay, so once they come against us, that's them basically coming against Yahweh Shema Shai. All right, it says they have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. So, you know, their whole MO is to basically oppress us, make us forget who we are. All right, make us continually to go off and to cling on to, you know, their ideals, and, you know, to, you know, serve their gods. All right, because that's how you know, they've been doing it for years and killing us. All right, putting pork in our food, chemtrails in the air, you know, influencing Jake with this rap culture. All right, that's part of their plans. Or how can we further? All right, when they go to the World Economic Forum, you think they talking about, you know, or when they go through these different summits, you think they talking about the wellness of the people, how we can help the so-called Black, Latino Americans? Hell no, they can, you know, talk about how can we further our new world order? How can we further, you know, put down the so-called Blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans? All right. And it says, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent, they are confederate against thee. All right, so they all have one, you know, goal, one true goal. All right, even though they're against each other, when it comes to coming against us, they all have one mindset to come together. All right. It says the tabernacles of Edom and the Ishmaelites of Moab and Hagarians, and continuing on is going to go into, these different nations, but the very important talks about Edom. And who is Edom? All right, I said it, Esau, Edom, which is the so-called Caucasians. All right, and starting with the elites, these nations starting with Edomites, which are the elites. All right, your Rothschilds, your Rockefellers, have all come together to come against us. All right, and these other nations, again, that be at these summits. All right, the so-called Chinese, the so-called Japanese. All right, the so-called Arab, man. All right, the so-called Saudi Arabians, they all come together to come against us. All right, so when Yahushua returns, he's coming to conquer and to be victorious over all his foes. Okay. All right. Where I was at? All right, I want to get also Revelation 19. Revelation 19, and starting at 10, it says, "And I fell at his feet to worship him, and he said unto me, See thou do it not. I am thy fellow servant, and of thy brethren that have the testimony of Yahushua, worship the Most High. For the testimony of Yahushua is the spirit of prophecy." So if you proclaim to have the testimony of Yahushua, you will prophesy. All right, you will prophesy. You will talk about prophecy. Okay, and it says, "And I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse." There go that white horse once again. Remember that white representing purity, and that horse representing power. So when Yahushua returns, he's gonna come. All right, he's gonna come he's gonna come to show his pure, power. All right, and also show his glory. All right, but that's representing him. Purity, because it's Yahushua. All right, he's pure, and he's coming. And not as he did the first time as a man, but he's coming as a God. Hence that horse. All right, and how are you gonna see that? Via the chariots, the fathership. Okay, and it says, "And he that sat upon him was called faithful and true, in righteousness he doth judge and make war." Who's coming to make war with? These heathen nations, starting with Esau, Edom, and to judge them as well. He says his eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns. When it talks about those many crowns, it's talking about when Yahushua returns. All right, these kingdoms, he's going to conquer them. All right, hence the many crowns. He's going to conquer these different heathen nations, take their lands, all right, take their possessions, and basically take them out of power. All right, because Yahushua is the true king. All right, everything was given unto Yahushua to rule. He has the dominion. He's the only begotten. It says, "And he had a name written that no man knew but he himself." Well, and what does that mean? His rank. All right, he's the Son of God. Nobody's above Yahushua, only Yahweh. And it says, "And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of the Most High." So that's one of his titles, the Lamb, and also the Word of God, the Word of Yahweh. "And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean, and on his mouth, and out of his mouth, Salakia. All right, it's Salakia, his armies, because he's not only coming with one fathership. All right, it says white, and upon white horses. All right, it followed him upon white horses. All right, other chariots as well. All right, is gonna follow Yahushua, because he's not coming by himself. He's gonna have the fathership. All right, and other chariots too. It says, "And out of his mouth with a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations," starting with Esau, Edom. Right, because Esau, Edom is our number one foe. I keep mentioning because he's our number one foe. All right, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron. So after Yahushua takes down these nations and judge them, he's gonna rule over them. And once he rules over them, we will rule over them. All right. It says, "And he treaded the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of the Almighty power." And he had on his vision, on his thigh, a name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Right, because he's the King of Kings. He's the Lord of Lords. All right. It says he treaded the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of Almighty power. So Yahushua's coming to shed a lot of blood when he returns. Okay. And these things are very important to know, because when Yahushua returns, people are going to be like, what is that? Why is it a UFO? Which is ultimately just an unidentified flying object. What is that, a UFO? A UAP, which is an unidentified aerial phenomenon. But they're going to see a so-called black man, all right, looking angry, and other chariots as well. Angels, all right, coming to do one thing, to judge. Okay. Revelation 12, it says, therefore rejoice ye heavens, ye that dwell in them. Right? We gotta rejoice. All right. Everybody's gonna rejoice. Really. It says, woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devils come down unto you having great. Well, Slakia, I'm gonna start not here. 7, Slakia. Revelation 12 and 7, it says, and there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels, right? So Michael and his angels, right, fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels. So when it talks about the dragon and his angels, the dragon is talking about Esau, but more in depth, it's talking about this revised Roman Empire. And it says his angels, because Esau is not coming alone. All right, it talks about him, Esau fighting against Yahweh Shai, and also these other heathen nations, all right, and their armies, okay, to fight against Yahweh Shai. It says, and prevail not. And why they prevail not? Because they're fighting against Yahweh Shai's army. Neither was their place found anymore in heaven, right? They lost. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent that called the devil and Satan, which deceived the whole world. So who is he talking about? All right, not actual, the spiritual entity. All right, not him. He's talking about Esau Edom, because that old serpent was not an actual snake, but it was actually a man. All right, which was ultimately the spirit of Esau. All right, and it says, called the devil, because devil just means what? Deceiver. And it said, and Satan was deceiving the whole world. So again, he was called the deceiver, because one of his tactics was deception. All right, so when I say that we are coming to the end of this kingdom, all right, because his deception, all right, is fading away. He doesn't have that power anymore to deceive, because everybody knows who he is. He's being exposed. All right, and it says, where was that? He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. All right, so again, we come into the end of an age of Esau's, age of ruling, and we see it now by him being exposed, and him being exposed is gonna, cause what's the word? I want to say cataclysm of events, or a flowing of events, which is gonna ultimately lead to the return of Yahweh Shai. Because he can't let this go on. All right, he wants to fulfill his new world order. All right, but that's not prophecy. The true new world order is going to be the new world order of Yahweh Shai Shai. All right, but Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bashim Shai, Bashim Kodash, and the honor to the apostles and elders, great millstone, and shalom to the Akim, teaching his word throughout the four corners, and true sincerity, and was out there.